Ladies, gentlemen, and Haradrim of all ages, as we progress through Season 2 of Diablo 4, we've got a number of exciting things on the horizon for this game, but with the biggest of this being the Abattoir of Zir coming on December 5th, at least the biggest thing for this season, it's sort of really heavily overshadowing another event that's happening in December as well, the Midwinter Blight. On the surface, this is just sort of a fun seasonal thing to represent winter and the holiday season in a way that gives us some goodies just for fun in the game. It's nothing major, nothing meant to count as substantial content for the game, but this will bring a new activity around for a limited time, and surprisingly there is actually important gameplay affecting aspects to this that could even prove to be the secret to taking down the higher tiers of Abattoir of Zir. So let's talk about everything that we know about the Midwinter Blight, what the activity will actually consist of, and of course the rewards to expect from partaking in the event, including some very special and very powerful exclusive elixirs. Starting at the top then, the event will begin on December 12th and will last until January 2nd, so you have 3 weeks to take part as much as you'd like to.
The choice is yours.
The event will focus around the Fractured Peaks region, completely taking it over for the time that it is active. Assuming it isn't just flowery wording, this should also have an actual aesthetic effect on the actual region too, cutting out a lot of the sunlight, resulting in a very dark and cold area, with frozen people existing around the world in the open region. As well, there will be new enemies in the area, including Blight Fiends, which are central to the event as a whole. There will be a questline associated with this event as well, which will begin in Unqiue, where the player will meet a new character named Gilliam, a bard, which I absolutely wish was a playable Diablo class, by the way. Diablo Bard is something I could only imagine being sick as all hell. That aside, this is your sort of hub for the event, with the totem in the center being a sort of hand-in station. As for how the event actually works then, we don't know everything, but what we do know is that those Blight Fiend enemies I mentioned earlier will be scattered around the Fractured Peaks, sometimes in groups just having fun and dancing around, sometimes building something called frigid husks, which are their version of snowmen, made out of the corpses of humans that were frozen from the hazards of the event itself, and the blizzard and the lack of sun and all that, making it really just an inhospitable area for humans. Killing the Blight Fiends and dismantling the frigid husks will eventually grant you the ire of the Red-Cloaked Horror, a special boss unique to this event, who looks like a big old demonic goat man with a gnarly axe. With this being a unique boss, hopefully it will actually come with some interesting or unique mechanics or something like that, but given this is just an open world thing, I can't imagine it will be difficult at all, at least for someone with a build put together. Not even like a strong build, just something competent enough to exist in general. Killing this Red-Cloaked Horror boss will get you some drops related to the event, which you would then bring back to that event station in Unqiue to actually get the rewards for. The current running theory is you give them to the totem as a sort of sacrifice, and the system will work similar to Hunter's Acclaim from Blood Harvest, where you give it materials to gain experience along the reward track for the event, slowly unlocking the various things it has to offer. With that said, let's talk about what those rewards are. Starting with the cosmetics. Quite simply, there's an entire set of back trophies for this event, with one uniquely designed to fit each of the 5 classes. These actually look pretty solid. They definitely match the aesthetic of the event itself, and I do like the variance between them as well to notify the different classes. I'm not sure how much I would use any of them personally, but they're definitely cool to have as options.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Then we have a full set of weapon cosmetics too. All of them have a relatively similar wintry aesthetic, no overly bright colors anywhere, green pine needles on everything with bits of red for the holiday season as well. The focus is particularly cool, and I like how hefty the shield looks as well, and those are the standouts in my opinion, but for the most part the weapons are pretty tame. Aside from that, some of the rewards that have been data mined for the event are where it starts to get a bit more interesting, which are things like the Midwinter Purse, which is just a pile of gold in a bag, Midwinter Spoils, which contain items, gem fragments, and potential drops of Gillian's Brew, and that's where it gets funky, because we have one picture of what a Gillian's Brew actually is, and here it is. It's actually a very special elixir. It gives you a bonus 15% to maximum life, and to lucky hit chance, and also to experience gain. That is some of the highest value you can get from a single elixir for various reasons. I mean, it's far higher experience gain than any other elixir in the game, which is big in itself for anyone still wanting to level things at that point, but also 15% maximum life is only 5% less than the actual dedicated maximum life granting potion, but you also get 15% bonus lucky hit chance, which is pretty massive too. So any build that can take significant advantage of that, something like Poison Rogue with Hemomancy would absolutely adore this elixir and that specific combination as an example. However, the theory about these is that they may well only be an example of Gillian's Brew. This isn't necessarily the standard. It may well be it's not a stable item, and that there are actually various versions of it that are randomized. Theoretically, each different version being a different combination of 2 15% bonuses that you could normally find on an elixir, and always a 15% bonus experience as well. If that does wind up being the case, that would mean that every class and build in the game would have one just absolutely nutty perfect combination of the perfect 2 bonuses to hunt down like all hell. And if you got the right one, it could be a ridiculous power spike while it was active, so you'd want to farm multiple of the perfect ones, because that brings me back to my earlier comments about the Abattoir of Zir. The Abattoir of Zir releases 1 week before the Midwinter Blight event, and I could absolutely believe it if they wanted to give us a week to throw ourselves head first at it without these elixirs, see how far we can get as we are now, but then give us access to these elixirs through the Midwinter Blight event, just to see how much of a difference in power and in our ability to push through further into the Abattoir of Zir. To me, it's almost like a sneaky experiment from the developers, because whether in the expansion at the end of next year or earlier than that, they will definitely want to add more elixirs to the game as permanent parts. And while these are theoretically limited to the event time period, if they prove to be within the realm of acceptable power boost and people like it, I could totally see elixirs like this return as a more permanent thing after the event ends in a future season maybe. That's about it then really. There are some other item tooltips that were datamined, but they mostly just seem like different materials you could potentially sacrifice to the totem for more event experience, or however the system works in particular, but I think we are pretty close to correctly understanding it at this point. Well, that then, everything that the community has been told about this event up to this point, you've seen even the cosmetics in actual game thanks to a recent trailer from the developers themselves. So I guess the question is from here, what do you think about this event? What do you expect from it? Personally, I think it's going to be quite cool. Some might even say full-on cold. What? Come on, lighten up! Jokes aside, at first I thought it was just a bit of an inconsequential, little but pleasant thing to actually have added to the game. It doesn't fix any problems with the game, especially because it's temporary, but it's not going to make it worse at all either, and it could be a fun distraction while it's around. Once I saw this elixir though, I changed my tune quite a bit. Not only because elixirs are something that can actually affect player power, which immediately makes this event something worth farming if you actively want to push to be stronger in any way for the rest of the season, but also the idea that I mentioned before of the elixirs being a sort of testing ground for the developers. Whether intentional or not, giving us limited time access to elixirs that are stronger than what we currently have is just a way to actually see what they can do to make more interesting elixirs that are still within an acceptable range of increased player power without totally breaking the game just because somebody drank some liquid. And I think that does work extremely well within the timing of Abattoir of Zir dropping a week beforehand. It's a bit sly, a bit smart, and hey, I have nothing wrong with them testing something if it also results in us having more content for us to actually play through. What do you all think then? Do you expect to enjoy this event when it happens? Do you care about the cosmetics that we're going to be getting at all? Are you going to be hunting down a stack of perfect elixirs like I'm probably going to be doing? All I know is that I wasn't expecting this event to actually pique my interest, but it definitely has as of this point. So I look forward to when the developers tell us more about it, and of course when the event drops itself on the 12th of December. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.